This is our stand talking to various listed companies. But we are joined by a very special guest. Everyone will know this man from our regular Research Talks podcast on Stockbox. It goes out, we record it on a Friday and it goes out on a Sunday afternoon. And that is, of course, Alan Green, who's joining me in person for the first time. It's really nice to meet you. You look pretty similar to what I see on Zoom, but a bit more detail, Alan. It's nice to have met you in person for the first time. How are things going?
Things are going very well, and thank you for inviting me, Mark. And it's great to be at the show, and we're really seeing a lot of people come through the door. I've just come from the company area next door, and plenty of people milling around, which is what you want to see in a show. But it's really, we've spoken every week, of course, and spoken to Pete and the other chaps on the team. But I actually, for the first time today, got to meet you all in person, which is great. Yeah, and yes, you do look very similar to
what we see on the
to what we see on the page.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. We're going to do a live Research Talks today, so it's the first time we're going live, and we're here in person. We're going to cover 4 companies, so maybe a 10-minute on each, high-level overview. We're going to start with Metal NRG, is that right?
Metal NRG, yes. The EPIC code is MNRG, of course, and I'm just looking at the share price here, and really the talks we were having earlier about share prices and where they were for the junior mining and resource sector. We are almost at capitulation phase, I think. We're just seeing this flat line. Metal Energy is no different. It's trading just off at 0.16p, just off year lows of 0.13p, year high of 0.7p, giving it a market cap of 1.8 million at the moment.
It's come off a lot, hasn't it?
It really has, but actually it's in line with the other companies I'm going to talk about, with the exception of one. So, but of course, Metal Energy has a mix of projects, and it's an investor into precious strategic metals and also into energy resources too. There's one aspect of the business I'm not going to talk about because there are some issues underway there at the moment, so I'm not going to touch on that side. But I'm going to deal first of all with the energy side of the business. Metal Energy has a joint venture or special purpose vehicle with EQTech, EQT, developing waste to energy plants which burn straw pallets, wood chips, and so on. Metal Energy has a 26.6% holding in the first plant with EQTech, which is based in Italy. It's expected that once online, this will generate EBITDA of some 750,000 euros a year. Okay. And there is, of course, a very good opportunity for the special purpose vehicle to repeat the process and set up other plants. So we're expecting news on that at some point. I guess you could say Dormant Projects, the company has a stake in Lake Victoria Gold Project in Tanzania. Now, this is the due diligence didn't stack up when the company first looked at it, but it has committed monies to it, which have been converted into just under 4% of equity. So again, that could reignite at some point. So we're looking to hear about that. Then, of course, we have this uranium project in Kyrgyzstan, and the mining company Invest IMC. Metal Energy owns 9.9%. the previous government there were very anti and imposed a countrywide ban on mining. New government have come in, and there are opportunities now, particularly with the spot price of uranium, to redevelop that asset. So we're hopeful there of a positive outcome. No news yet though.
Okay.
So we then come to what's really the project that's really blazing a trail at the moment, and this is the Gold Ridge project in Arizona. And this is sited south of the Dos Cabezos Mountains. There are three principal assets there: the Gold Ridge mine, the Gold Prince mine, and the Dives mine. And a lot of history there, a lot of historical workings. Tailings show some really good grades of gold historically. May last year, SRK, obviously the mining the mining company that undersees and overlooks research into projects, undertook a review on behalf of Metal Energy and said that it looked as though there was great potential there, and the collated data may well confirm the presence of a bigger and more widespread system. Bring us up to date, and of course, this week we had a big update from the company, which hasn't impacted on the share price at all, which is the irony. Phase one geochemical analysis was completed, and indeed, what the analysis has revealed is that the Apache Pass shear zone implies that the gold mineralization is transposed north of the asset. So all the drilling's been done south of the asset. No drilling has been done north yet. So the suspicions of SRK seem to have been confirmed that it is a bigger system than was initially expected. A gold anomaly was also defined in the southern PC block. A multi-geochemical anomaly was identified 1 kilometer west of the Dives mine, and copper anomalies also noted in various volcanic rocks recovered from the area. And certainly Bart Stry has the geo confirmed, said it confirms the previous belief that there is a larger undiscovered gold and base metal system there. So that really is great confirmation. Share price hasn't moved much, but that asset has certainly moved forward. So the company's worth 1.8 million, for goodness sake. So when's some value going to be attributed?
That's the question.
It's got 26% of an asset an asset soon going to be generating EBITDA of 750,000 euros a year, and this too with the Kyrgyzstan asset, and of course the asset in Tanzania as well.
So the main projects are the Gold Ridge asset and the EQ-Tech one, developing the cash flow.
Those are principal cash flow assets, certainly. Well, the EQ-Tech is the principal cash flow asset.
Yeah, and the Gold Ridge is the blue sky.
The blue sky one,
the exploration potential. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, 1.8. So pretty. And share price at 16.
Share price at 16p.
16p.
And I mean, look, it's just drifted back through the year. We can just see the movement over the year. But I interviewed Paul Johnson, of course, about a week ago. I mean, we were talking about the markets, and he says he believes we're at a capitulation stage. And
we're not there. We're pretty close.
It's akin to think of a tsunami. So prior to a tsunami hitting, of course, the tide goes out, and everyone's dumping stock, and the markets are falling apart. And then it comes back. Everyone buys back in again when everything's on the floor, and there's a huge rush. And that's the time to be in the market. You've got to be in it to win it.
Yeah, you have to be in it to win it. Absolutely, you do. Okay. And Metal Energy, certainly very low market cap, and just not recognised at the moment. So when one of these projects come in, or when the news comes out about the revenue coming in from EQ-Tech, it'll be too late. So
indeed,
you want to get in. You want to get in while no one is talking about.
Buy them while it's still available.
Buy them while it's exactly. Okay, so Kabanga Resources is the other company you want to talk to us about today, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Kabanga were on the Stockbox premiere a couple of weeks ago, and Ben Turney very confident about developments that are going on in the company there.
And rightly so too. Okay. And Kabanga, of course, again, we've the company's just successfully raised a stack of money for the research that they're undertaking and the work they're undertaking in Botswana. So three principal projects there. The flagship project is the Kalahari Suture Zone, which is a vast area, thousands, 8,000-9,000 square kilometers, and a huge area of potential. over the years, Kavango have become renowned for the modelling that they put together.
Yeah, very good modelling.
Lots of it on the website, so you can go to the website, see the models, and what they've seen is that the asset or the geological anomalies under the ground there are starting to resemble the Norilsk mine in Siberia. Now, of course, Siberia at the moment, any produce from Norilsk is locked in because of sanctions, the Russia-Ukraine invasion. That stuff can't get to market. So it heightens the urgency of sourcing new sources of nickel, of copper, and of other assets. And of course, this is where Kavango believe the KSZ really does have the answer. So I'll just touch on the others, and then I'll bring this up down the news. We then have the Kalahari copper belt asset, and this is on the South Guernsey Ridge in southwest Botswana or western Botswana. Again, renowned for copper in the region. There are two joint ventures with LVR Geo Explorers, which are a local Botswana-based company. Kavango has to commit a certain spend to each asset to acquire an increased stake, and also, of course, the joint venture with Power Metal Resources that I'll come on to later when I talk about Power Metal on the two copper assets there too. And of course, the copper assets there are quite close to the Sandfire deposit. Of course, Paul Johnson developed under Metal Tiger in his time there. So that's an asset. And when I spoke to Ben and Brett Grist, the CFO, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, Ben said that there was a lot more to come, and they would be talking a lot more and developing that asset a lot more as the year progresses. So a good opportunity there. And then, of course, the other part of the joint venture with Power Metal is the Dittow Farms rare earths project. And again, it's long been thought rare earths were here, and of course, rare earths are quite common. It's just despite the name, it's just they occur infrequently, so they don't appear in commercial quantities. But where they do, and of course going back to the 1970s, Falconbridge Mining sampled high grades of niobium and some of the other key rare earths. So it's long been thought that there is a huge asset here. Certainly, a lot of the technology that Kavango employs seem. Of course, we then move on to the most recent updates from the drilling there, which are currently underway. The company identified 12 geophysical structures. 9 were very well defined. They're and these are confirmed by aeromag surveys and also ground magnetic surveys too. So again, that modelling, the modelling theme that runs through everything that Kavango do. And certainly, the most recent update was early this week, May the 18th. Dittow Hole 4. They intercepted, with the modelling they've done, they drilled down and intercepted the anomaly that the modelling predicted at the predicted depth, which is great. So it just shows you how powerful Kavango's business model is. Further aeromag surveys will be undertaken there. So you've got those three principal assets. So just a quick look at the share price. So shares are currently trading at 2.65. The company just raised a bunch of money. In fact, shares a week ago closed at 3p, and it raised over the weekend a large sum of money, which was also at 3p. And investors get a warrant at 6p with every share too. So I'm a shareholder in Kavango. I'm delighted with that. So that's great news. Just to say that the shares have traded as high as 6.5p, but Kavango trades on an 11 million market cap, which, considering, if they've got Norilsk Mark II in the KSZ, which, when you go into an area like this, you start somewhere. So you drill where you think there are maybe folds in the geology where you could have pockets of the mineralization that you're seeking. And certainly so far, the modelling they've done seems to have picked this up, and they're on target with that. So, but of course, I said to Ben the other week, it's such a huge area. Where do you decide to drill? You have to start somewhere.
I think when it comes to Ben Turney, he's very good at talking to the market. He's also very good at the technicals as well. Also, speaking in layman's terms, let's say, modelling is fantastic. But what are we waiting for here? I mean, is it that this discovery we're waiting for that core to come out that just looks really good?
Yeah. Again, a chat with somebody here earlier. A lot of the anomalies that are found underground are all very well, but it's miles from anywhere. So okay, it's there in commercial quantities, but you've got to get it out of the ground.
Yeah.
Then there's the road infrastructure. Where do you ship it from?
Yeah.
All of those considerations, and those are considerations. But I think Kavango have a mix of assets. You know, they've got great exposure to copper, great exposure to nickel, a bit of gold there as well, and of course the rare earths with Dittow.
Yeah.
So Botswana is a very benign environment. Of course, it's just above South Africa, so you know it's easy to get the stuff out and to market. But as I say, in the background, the macro picture, you've got this situation with Russia and the Ukraine invasion. Russia shut out the global market, so the rush is on to find alternative resources.
Exactly. Where are they working at the moment? Is it Dittow they're currently drilling at?
Yeah, well, they're drilling at Dittow, but also a further update. And again, this came on last Monday. So within the KS set, they've defined this great red spot, which is a concentration of what the GRS, as Ben calls it.
Yes.
Yeah. Because Ben says something about the IOC being the GRS, and then I realised, of course, he's talking about the great red spot. But yeah, so the second mineralization target was identified at the GRS, an IOCG, an iron oxide copper gold system, which as an anomaly, it's a large, it's of a large size, simple metallurgy, and that generally leads up to, if it's developed, leads to very profitable mines. And it's similar in structure to the Olympic Dam mine in Australia.
Okay.
So that's huge. You know, that really gives some idea of what they're looking at here. So within there's a Norilsk and an Olympic Dam all rolled into one.
Okay, interesting. I think that they also have quite a good setup or deal with the drillers, don't they, as well, where they can. I think they've also Mindea, I think the drilling company, and they've taken shares as well as cash. I think
indeed,
so that shows confidence. And they're able to go from one project to the next project, and then whilst they're drilling at Dittow, they're planning the next stage at the KSZ. So it's almost a continuous, and it's very easy to understand. You've got the 3 projects, and there's always constant work going on. So you know, if one of them's a duster, well, you know, you've got hopefully 2 others to keep you interested.
You've got 2 others, and obviously, you know, that's the thing with mining. You know, it's a difficult business, and you know, the actual percentage of mines that do make it through are very small. But if you're exposed to a broad cross section of projects, you know, certainly in the case of Power Metal, this is where we'll be talking about this shortly. But certainly, Kavango have a great mix, and as you say, with Mindea, and also I think Spectral Geophysics have the same arrangement. That's their Aeromag team and the team that undertakes service. So they're not burning cash paying these people. You know, they're using stock, and you know, these companies have to eat. Let's not forget. You know, so the fact that they're prepared to take stock in lieu of payment is that's a real blind sign. They obviously are really excited about what they see around there.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, we'll watch this space with Kavango for results to come.
Indeed.
So we are going to talk about another mining exploration company that can be a little bit hard to get your head around. But before we go into that, we're going to Technology Minerals. Is that right?
Yeah, Technology Minerals. So fascinating company. So run by Alex Stanbury, who's a geologist and has undertaken an awful lot of work in mining. He's also a former investment banker as well, and very knowledgeable on developing assets and systems. And also the chairman, of course, is Robin Brundle, and Robin Brundle is well known in the autosports industry and the automotive industry per se. And they've created with Technology Minerals the world's first listed UK listed circular economy company. Yeah. They have developed battery recycling plants in the Midlands. The first one at Tipton, which is a lead acid recycling plant, has just received its EA license, the Environmental Agency license, and has to go through a couple of minor ISO accreditations for transporting batteries, which is obviously it's a dangerous pastime. So the process has to be just right. But I've seen what the team are doing, and they're way ahead of the curve in that regard. So they're developing battery recycling plants, and they're going to be reprocessing batteries on an industrial scale. So what comes out of that? Obviously, you've got recycled lead. Lead's worth a lot of money. You've got about 1,100 pounds per ton. Plastic, of course, 200 odd pounds per ton. Acid, 80 pounds per ton. And then with the lithium-ion batteries, once there's a process, you're left with a black mass. And that black mass are all the metals that can be reprocessed and reused second time around. And that sells for about £5,000 per ton in the market. So there's a huge opportunity to earn money. And the company put together some numbers around this. Of course, when you break that down further and that black mass down into lithium, cobalt, copper, and nickel, we all know what the prices per ton are for those metals.
Yes.
So the company laid down some numbers when it IPO'd last November, projecting turnover of just under 10 million for the first year, with a small loss of 300,000. A turnover of 28.5 million year two, 55 million year three. So it's profitable year two with a £5 million pound profit. Year 410 million, year five 220, and so on. So they expect to not only have these two plants up and running, but they're going to be developing many more. And throughout the development process, Robin, Alex, and the team have been talking with governments, showing them the blueprint that they've created for battery recycling. Because ironically, we've got all these electric vehicles being produced, but no one's really thought through the process of what happens at the end of the life. How can you reconstitute those? And this is what Technology Minerals have done.
And we're only going to get a lot more batteries, obviously, coming not just from electric vehicles, but from flexible grid solutions for on-demand energy for the grid, for the national grid.
Absolutely,
so the era of batteries is upon us.
The year of batteries is upon us, and recycling is key to that. And so why is recycling key? Well, we've just spoken about the Russia-Ukraine invasion. We've just spoken about metal supply squeezes. Elon Musk said a couple of years ago he wanted to produce 20 million Teslas every year.
Yeah.
And if he did that this year, he would hoover up 30% of the world's nickel supply this year. 30%, which gives you some idea. You've got the Chinese EV manufacturers, all the other EV manufacturers. Where's it going to come from? So recycling is actually key to this, and it'll be key going forward. So that's the situation on the one half of the circular economy business. The other half is they have 5 key mining assets in Idaho. They have the Blackbird asset, which they own 100% of, which covers a huge cobalt and copper area, and the Blackbird Creek and the Empyrean property, which is a 55-kilometre square area where they're exploring for cobalt. They then have the Astamet project in North Spain, where the company is developing. We're getting some clear data coming through now with a couple of recent announcements. They have the Cameroon, Technology Minerals Cameroon, 5 exploration permits for nickel there. And then they have Leinster, which is Wicklow, County Wicklow in Dublin, 15 prospective licenses there for lithium. So those are all key. Step forward this week with the Idaho Cobalt Projects. The company sold 10% of Blackbird and Imperium copper cobalt for £900,000 cash to a Chinese investor, which is key. And there's the Chinese investor, in fact, is Bluebird Metals LLC, and there's an option there for the company to pay a further 1.8 million and acquire a further 20%. So they're realizing value from these assets already. Whether they partner up and develop the assets jointly or go it alone, it remains to be seen. But either way, it's a company. It creates a circular economy, so that the metals come out of the ground in the first place, go into the system, come out at the other end, get recycled, go back in again.
Yeah. So on the recycling side of it, there's some impressive figures there. Is it looking like they're on track to meet their forecast? I know it's early to say at the minute, but
yeah, I think certainly the company haven't put out anything to change that, and that's key. So
they've been listed how long, you say?
They've been listed since November last year.
Okay, so not a year then yet. Okay.
Not a year yet. So if we look at the share price since, so they came in at just over 3p, and they're literally back to that point now.
Okay.
Been as traded as high as 5.5p, as low as 2.1p, but certainly on the news that they raised 900,000 on Friday, and of course with the EA license award last Tuesday for the Tipton plant, that's a key step forward.
Okay.
And once they start quenching batteries, I mean, that's going to be the big cash generator.
That's going to be the big cash generator. Yeah, and what a great position for an explorer to be in, to actually be generating cash at the same time.
It's a great business model, but I know Robin Brundle and Alex were at the EV show in December. They've done quite a few shows since then, and they've had huge interest from the automotive industry, and site visits and all the rest of it. So I think we're going to see some quantum leaps being taken over the summer months.
Over the summer months, okay,
yeah.
Good. Well, thank you for that, Alan. So now we've got our last company we're going to talk about, and that is Power Metal Resources. And if you can do this in 10 minutes, I will be
yes,
impressed.
Indeed.
There's so much.
So we said with Power right at the start, we're creating a company, of course, with Power Metal, which has multiple projects. And I mean, I think it's 14 projects. I think it's more than that. There are projects within projects within projects. But if you look at the spread of risk that company has, and I mean, Power Metal is currently, we're talking about capitulation. We had a blip up to 1.7p. We're just on a higher low now, 138p. So I'd expect us to bounce off here again. But we're starting to see the end of this capitulation phase, I believe.
We hope so.
We hope so, yeah. So in Australia, we have the new Ballarat Gold Company, which owns assets in the Victoria Goldfields, jointly with Red Rock Resources, and we're expecting to see progress on that. I know another company we work with, ECR Minerals, also has key assets there, and those are really developing fast, and they're finding some really strong gold grades. So once this starts to move forward, expect to see some stuff there. Just been chatting with Tristan Potts around the corner.
Yeah, all the guys are here, aren't they?
They are. And Tristan is just enthused by the opportunities at FDR. And of course, First Direct Resources are a company that have been spun out of Power Metal. Power Metal retain a majority stake, of course, and that company will come to market later on this year. But it's engaged with the Celta Uranium project and, of course, the Wallal project. And Wallal project is close to the Haverian asset. They've discovered within the region their own great red spot, a big magnetic anomaly, and a bunch of other assets. So it's going to be very exciting when that company comes to market. We then there's also the another asset, and I'm just looking on my list here. No, I can't. It'll come to me shortly.
Sure.
But there's another the Gawler project, or I think it's Gawler Copper project.
Okay.
I think that's also in Western Australia too. So we then move across to Africa, and of course we have the interest in Botswana, the joint venture with Kavango. That's in the KCB. Paul and the team, of course, announced last week they'd acquired all of the Malompo Farmers project, which they're really excited about. Yeah. So that's really one of the first wholly owned projects where the company are going to drill and develop. Yeah. Also, of course, with Kavango, they have the half stake in the Disal Rare Earths project. And the Tati project, the Tati Greenstone Belt project, which again, Paul, I know, is very, very enthused about. Mm-hmm. And of course, the DRC project, Cobalt project in the Congo. Then we come to Canada. We have a raft of projects there, and I hope I remember them all. We have the Eureka Silver project, which of course is Silver Peak. Yeah. Power have a 30% stake there. That will develop and be spun off into an IPO at some point. We then have, of course, the Athabasca Basin assets, and that's a huge opportunity. They're 100% owned. And the Orthia North lithium project, again, huge, fantastic opportunities there. We then come to, we then sort of move down a bit. We get to the USA, and this is where the second, in fact, the imminent IPO is set, which of course is Golden Metal Resources, run by Oliver Friesen. I was hoping to meet Oliver today. Unfortunately, he's unwell, but I'm sure we'll have a chat in the next few weeks. But that's going to come to market and bring with it, of course, the the Pilot Hill project, which is a tungsten project,
Yes.
hugely relevant today. It's a very important metal, along with a range of gold projects, the Golconda, the Stonewall, and the Garfield gold projects, all packaged within that company that's coming to market, I believe, in June.
Okay.
So we then, of course, have the Alamo project, which is a gold project in America, and I hope I've covered everything, Paul, but if we haven't. So you just put those together, and currently Power Metal, and I've just looked at my chart here, Power Metal trades on a market capitalization of just over 20 million. So of course 20 million sterling is, for all that those interests packaged together, is absolutely nothing. So I attempted a sum of the parts valuation, and I just looked at the Ballarat gold asset, what that could be worth, and I think the Ballarat gold asset to Power is worth about 6 million. I then compared the uranium assets to Blue Sky Uranium, which has a market cap of about 27 million. I then compared the copper assets to Castillo Copper, about 16 million. I then compared the IPO spin-offs. That takes us up to about 54 million just with those alone. We then come to the joint ventures with the Tati asset, probably worth 8 million. Silver Peak, 3 million at the moment. Dittow joint venture, maybe 2, maybe 3 million. Alamo Gold, we're well over 70 million.
Right.
And if you're going to look at Power Metal, that's what you've got to do. You've got to take a bunch of the projects together and then look for a listed comparable company and do the comparison, because it's the only way you can value the company.
And what's Power at?
Power's currently worth just over 20 million market cap, so it's worth nothing.
It's incredible, really. I think when these IPOs start to happen, it might make things a little bit easier for investors to perhaps understand what's going on. When you have so much going on, and Paul has said himself to me that he's building something significant here, it can be a little bit hard for investors to really get their head around everything. Where's the exploration going on? Where's the value attributed? But I think as these IPOs start to come through, we'll start to interview Oliver, the CEO, and of course Tristan as well. Might become a little bit easier for investors to understand. But I mean, yeah, for a 20 million market cap, the share price I think peaked at over 3p at some point. I think last year 3.4, 3.5.
It did.
Everything's come off anyway. But again, all of this for a 20 million valuation.
We'll just think of that tsunami analogy. Just think of the tide's going way out, as far as you can see, and there's a massive roller in the distance, and it's unstoppable. Yeah.
Well, when the sector does kick, which we say a number of times, it's definitely due to happen at some point. Power Metals are in an absolutely fantastic position to benefit from that. So thank you very much for that, Alan. It's been great talking to you live. I wonder if we could just show to the camera some of these notes. You just hold that up to that camera there. This is what Alan Green uses to lift it.
And a big thank you to my wife, who puts them in chronological order when I go home.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to. I don't know how you decipher that, to be honest, Alan. That's a lot of scripting, but you do a good job.
Well, the thing is, it goes down a certain way and it comes out a certain way, and it just gives me reference points to go to, because I've been talking about some of these companies for many years, and some of the sheets do get torn up because they're out of date, but a lot of these go back quite a few years, so they're all still relevant today.
So how long are you here for today?
I'm going to be here for most of the day, and I've just seen a certain Mr. Zach Muir over there.
Yes, Zach Muir over there.
Yeah, who's
Darren Hazelwood is just over.
Darren Hazelwood too. Well. Yeah. So, I recognise Darren this time as well.
He wants to research talks now with.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it's been lovely to meet you in person, Alan, and thank you very much for talking to us live.
Oh, thank you for having me on, Mark. I've really enjoyed it.
Next time we'll be back on Skype.
Behind
the computer screen.
Behind the computer screens, yep.
But hopefully with COVID we'll be able to meet a bit more frequently.
I'm sure we will.
So, So all that remains. So thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in today for this live research talks with Alan Green. And we're here for the rest of the day at Stockbox, bringing you interviews, people on our stand, and of course going around the stands talking to people. So stay tuned on our Twitter and our YouTube page. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.